Hi, I'm Harrison Wyatt, and in this part 2 of Flora and Fauna, I'm going to be looking at birds and mammals. So I was just walking down the path, and unfortunately I didn't quite catch it on camera, but just a couple of hundred yards away I had seen a buzzard that was circling over the tops of the trees. And immediately there was this cacophony of cawing from crows, part of the corvidae family, really recognizable for their guttural sound that they create. And they basically flew up and tried to fend off this buzzard, probably either from their nests or their territory in general, perhaps their young as well. But yeah, really interesting to see, and hopefully I might try and catch some footage. Unfortunately, it's really hard to get it on camera, and they've also moved further away on the valley over there now. But the aerial show that was being put on by the buzzard and the crows was really fascinating to watch, really interesting. Again, that buzzard's really iconic in that it's got the pale underwing and then the sort of golden brown over the top, so that from above it's camouflaged and from below it's sky coloured, whereas the crows, the corvids that are fighting it off are always that sort of jet black kind of feathered colour. But you can see the size comparison, and even so those crows are battling in force to try and scare away that buzzard. So I've just based myself in this corner, and I'm just going to sit for a little while and try and observe some of the birds that are flying by and hopefully catch some footage as well. During this time, I saw a few other species of bird, such as pigeon and great tit, and I was also kept company by some butterflies. Luckily, it wasn't too long before once again I heard the action overhead. That was absolutely awesome. I don't think the video will ever be able to do it justice, but it was so cool watching the buzzard just fly right up over my head, over the tops of these trees just to my right here, being chased by those two crows that were being so vocal as well, trying to scare it away, just watching how it was swooping and diving and leading that chase, and then all of a sudden just disappeared down into the woodland again. Hearing the wind beating through its wings was just intense. It was really cool. Here in this piece of footage, you can see a male and female common duck, or mallard. The male is easily recognisable from his bottle green head and white net ring, purplish breast, curly tail feathers and yellow bill. The female is speckled brown with dark eye stripe and orange bill, but there are other many domestic varieties. I often keep an eye on these two as they nest further downstream from our bushcraft sessions. These next few clips show some birds on our local Macclesfield Canal, starting with this mother mallard and her ducklings. Male mallards can be very territorial, and during breeding season they can be very defensive of their mate. In this clip, a grey heron can be seen on the far canal bank. It had been fishing down at the water's edge until we got a little bit closer. Though they breed in large colonies in tall trees, herons are usually solitary, standing in shallow water, waiting to grab fish or frogs, and they're renowned for being taller than any other water bird. And here, these Canadian geese, you often hear their loud trumpeting before you see them, easily recognisable for their colour pattern of black and white head and neck and brown large body. Usually spotted in flocks on water or grazing on nearby grass, they prefer lowland inland waters such as reservoirs and lakes. This nightcam footage was captured in November of last year of two foxes. Though in black and white, their coloration is still really iconic and you can see their dark feet and dark ears stand out. Foxes are crepuscular, which means they're most active in twilight hours of dusk and dawn, but some also do have a tendency to lean towards nocturnal. They quite often hunt for mice and voles, which is what I think they're doing here in the snow. These next two clips were taken in a local park. These are fallow deer, the UK's most common type of deer. They're widespread across the UK, mostly in England and Wales and in some areas of Scotland. They can be found in broadleaf and coniferous woodlands, and they also like agricultural land and are often kept in parks. This is the eastern grey squirrel. Introduced to the UK from the North Americas back in 1876, it's part of the Sciuridae rodent family, which is made up of squirrels, ground squirrels, chipmunks, and marmots. They are widespread across the UK, and they're easily recognisable in both wild and urban landscapes for their grey fur, bushy tail, and agile climbing skills. When it comes to being a forest school practitioner, I think it's so valuable to have a level of insight and knowledge when it comes to flora and fauna and being able to identify things. And I've come up with a list of 5 reasons why. First of all, it's to know what is poisonous and what's not poisonous, what is actually going to be safe to touch and be around or even look at or breathe near, versus what's going to be a dangerous space for yourself and other sort of participants to be in a space of. Secondly, it's knowing what's local to your area, knowing your own space, but in comparison to what's invasive, what species don't belong here for myself in the UK, what types of plants and animals might we need to stay on top of or control to maintain a healthy habitat. For example, a couple of years ago, as one of our outdoor sessions, we did some balsam bashing, which is an invasive plant species that actually flicks its seeds, so it scatters really sort of effectively, basically. So we had to pick them just at the right time. Third of all is seasonal abundance, knowing when things might not necessarily be all year round. But what things can you use or sort of rely upon as a resource for your bushcraft and forest school sessions, or what might you need to leave alone? What types of plants might we need to look after and make sure that we're thinking sustainably and in acting sort of conservation to make sure that we're looking after the space we're using. Fourth is thinking about your knowledge of bushcraft skills. So knowing, as I mentioned with the silver birch, knowing about oils in barks that can help for firelighting, or plants that burn well, or potentially edible sort of fruits and berries and fungi. What is going to be safe to eat and sort of assist you in survival skills. But also sort of thinking about the historical side of that. It's taking that knowledge and keeping it alive through ourselves, and then finally sort of inspiring that into another generation. So as a practitioner, sort of giving that information and that insight on and inspiring other people to have a knowledge about the space that they're in or local to, which is absolutely fascinating. As a quick point of reference to sort of finish off this video, having been looking at different flora and fauna, I did, as advised, go to a few local charity shops, and I picked up for just £1 or 2 each some really lovely nature identification books, some special sort of UK based ones as well. But these are great not only for myself to kind of brush up on my learning, but also to hand out to groups and let them go and do some exploring and identification themselves, which is a really great session.